and this is my the new course, Introduction to Linux and Introduction to the Linux Command. This course I made for the beginner, for the college student, for anyone who wanted to learn Linux command and wanted to achieve something in their life. This Linux nowadays, everyone they're using, whether in their educational platform or in the corporate training or like in their work in IT sectors or everywhere we are using this Linux operating system. So this course is made for them who will going to learn the Linux command. Many people they face difficulty about the Linux command. They don't know how to run the Linux command. So this course is made for that. I prepare this course specifically by keeping in the mind those people, those who feel difficulty in learning Linux. I will going to train you how you can run the Linux command in a very easy way, and you will. I assure you that after enrolling this course, you will find a confident in on you that you can run any command on the Linux and you will get familiarity with most of the Linux command. So let's start our journey of learning this Linux. So this Linux is like an operating system. It's like Windows and other operating system. We have in different operating system we have Linux and Windows operating system, GNU and Red Hat, right? So different operating system we have. We're going to see one by one. So let's start. So Linux in operating system, it's just like other operating system that we are using on our computer. The only difference between this Linux operating system and the Windows operating system is that Windows operating system are completely GUI based. What do you mean by this GUI based? It means that you have to simply click and you can click on the icon and then software will get installed, download or run. But Linux operating system is completely based on the command where you have to run the command. I will going to show you what are the commands that we use it, and this is a short idea about the Linux. What is the Linux? So whatever you do in a window, you can do it in the Linux operating system also. Here, this Linux provide you more security as compared to Windows operating system, and the performance of Linux is much better than your Windows operating system. Linux operating system we use in both in our official purpose, in our working in various companies, or we use in our college, lab, in the school, various sector we use this Linux operating system. Linux nowadays are using by everyone, and earlier days people they were using this Linux also in their research, and now also we are using this Linux operating system to do research and to work on some complex tasks. From supercomputer also are built on this Linux. So this supercomputer also having a Linux operating system. Linux operating system was introduced in 1981 by this Linus Torvald, and from the name only this Linux operating system was given. You can see Linus was a name given. So based on that, the Linux term was coined. So here in this Linux operating system, there are different versions of Linux operating systems are there. And this Linux operating system is completely open source. What do you mean by this completely open source? Completely open source in the sense that you don't have to purchase any license for this. It's completely open source, It is free to use, free to download and use, not like Windows where we need to purchase license. Windows OS, Windows operating system, where we need to purchase licensing. So this completely open source. Open source means the code of this Linux is available on the internet. Anyone they can download or they can make changes and they can introduce with their name in the market. It is freely available, so you don't have to you don't have to pay anything to use this Linux operating system. And we're going to use the same Linux Ubuntu operating system. The commands are all are same. In my course, I will going to show you how you can run the command in the Ubuntu operating system, and they are that are same. So before Linux, we were using this DOS operating system. This DOS operating system was much more popular before, in the like 80s. This operating system, distributed operating system also we call it. This operating system main focus was to distribute the tasks between the several system and reduce the load on a system. Apple, Mac, and some other system they were using it, but now every systems are completely replaced by Unix operating system. Unix is a version of Linux, Ubuntu. These all are the Unix-based Linux system, and Mac, Unix were the proprietary. That is, the source code of this kernel are protected. Means the kernel code was protected, but this code are open source, are easily available on the internet for the Linux, and we don't have to pay any licensing fee to use it. So actually, the beginning of this Linux was started by Andrew Tannenbaum. This Andrew Tannenbaum, you can say, he's a like an initiator of this Linux operating system. He developed Minix operating system, and his main motive behind it was to use this Minix operating system in the teaching purpose in their educational platforms. But later on, it was introduced by some Andrew, like sorry, later on it was introduced by this Linus Torvald as a Unix operating system. Andrew Tannenbaum has developed Minix operating system. So Minix is for like a teaching only. He developed it, but his intention was not for the commercial use, and it was very basic operating system. Later on, Torvald found that he can modify this Minix operating system so that Minix operating system was only limited to the educational platform. So he decided to make such operating system so that it can be used at the commercial purpose as well as on the industrial sector as well as an educational platform. So by keeping this in the mind, he introduced this. So he was the founder of this Linux operating system, Mr. Linus Torvald, and in the 1991 he introduced this Linux. This basic idea I'm giving you so that at the initial step you should be aware from where this Linux operating comes. Because when I was going to tell you the commands and all, you can easily learn it, but this basic idea if you have, you can also share your knowledge with others. So that's why I thought to just give you a brief idea on this Linux operating system. I hope if you like this brief idea on the Linux. In my next video, I will continue on more on this Linux. Till then, bye.